Hare Krishna. Welcome you all once again. Today's My Sweet Lord episode. Today, we are going to hear how the sweet Lord Krishna can dance for his devotees. Once again, welcome all of you today's episode, and then he danced. Let us start today's session with small prayers to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. It is said in the scriptures that all of us with madness called material enjoyment or lust have fallen down to this material world. And when somebody becomes mad, they forget so many things about their past life. Sometimes you can see how mad people, they are not able to identify their own family members. When family members try talking to them, the mad people will not be able to connect with them. They sometimes even ask them, "Who are you?" Like this. Similar way, kamaistaistai hritagnyana. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said, because of the karma, because of the material desire, the lust, we have fallen into this material world, become mad after sense gratification, and because of this madness called karma, we have forgotten our original loving relationship with our sweet Lord Krishna. And Krishna appears millennium after millennium again and again to remind us, to tell us, and to cure our madness and to establish our original relationship, that is loving relationship, and he wants to take us back from this mental hospital called material world. And that Krishna's auspicious appearance is Janmashtami. And to celebrate this Janmashtami, we are all preparing our consciousness by attending various activities conducted by folk by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. And one very important way that we can cure our madness that is all, gripping us is actually Shravanam. By hearing about Krishna and his pastime, it is said that we get cured of the madness called lust. So today we will all try to absorb our consciousness once again in the sweet, loving pastime of Lord Krishna. This ecstatic, wonderful pastime took place in the southern part of India. There is a holy place called Kumbhakonam in the present state called Tamil Nadu. And about 12 kilometers southwest to Kumbhakonam, there is a place called Avoru. Uru means in Sanskrit and also in Dravidian language, town or village. A means in Sanskrit and also in Dravidian language, cows. Since the two daughters of Kamadhenu, we know Kamadhenu is the constant companion of Lord Krishna in the spiritual world. It is said in Brahma Samhita, in the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavana, Krishna is surrounded by Kamadhenus. Surabhir abhipalayantam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Surabhir abhipalayantam. Krishna is busy in taking care of the Kamadhenu cows called Surabhi. And the Kamadhenu has two daughters. And one of the daughters called Nandini. Another daughter is called Patti. And these two daughters of Kamadhenu, they were actually present in this place called Avuru. And there is a beautiful temple of Lord Shiva called Kailasanatha temple, where Lord Shiva is actually called as Kailasanatha. And these two daughters of Kamadhenu, Nandini and Patti, they were present in the place called Avuru, and every day they were actually giving their precious special milk as an offering to Lord Shiva in the Kailasanatha temple. And not only that, and they were also offering some special flowers, and in this way they were doing their devotional service to the greatest Vaishnava, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, to Lord Shiva. There's something very special about these two daughters of Kamadhenu, Nandini and Patti. They were, during the daytime, they were going to the near one forest nearby called Utukkadu. There is a forest, and they were going there for pasturing, grazing the grass and all that. And after they have their grass, and during the afternoon time, they would spend their time listening to the discourses on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That place, since it is a holy place that has lots of connection to many holy incidents that took place, very auspicious incidences, the leelas that happened in the past. So that places is actually frequented by great people, great sages, and sages would gather in that forest and they would sit and discuss. This is one of the very special quality of the great devotees. The moment devotees gather, they start talking about Krishna. Mat chitta mat gata prana bodhayanta mam parasparam katayantascha mam nityam. Krishna says, katayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. One of the qualities of devotees of Krishna is that when they all come together, they all talk about Krishna. And in this way, they talk and they hear and they take extreme pleasure about it. So there used to be great sages who would gather in that forest and they would talk and they would describe and they would elaborate on the various pastimes of Lord Krishna. And these two cows, the special daughters of Kamadhenu called Nandini and Patti, they would actually sit down when the great sages were talking about Krishna's pastimes. They would hear about them. And this was their daily routine. Every day they would hear about Krishna's pastime. And it so happened after a few days, the great sages, they stopped coming there for some time, for some reasons. And these two, Kamadhenu's daughter, Nandini and Patti, they started missing Krishna's association. It is said that Shrunvanti Gayanti Grunanti Abhikshnashaha, Kunti Maharani says, Shrunvanti Gayanti, hearing about Lord Krishna, hearing his pastime are so relishing, are so satisfying to our heart. Once you get addicted to it, you won't feel like leaving it. It is exactly like, in fact, even Dhruva Maharaj confirms, Panamattaha, like a drunkard man in the material world. He gets addicted to drinking intoxicants and you ask him to stop. He finds it extremely difficult. Like that, when somebody absorbs their consciousness, hearing the glories of Lord Krishna, if they don't get, after some time, they will really feel terrible. They really feel missing in their heart. And so they were going through this kind of an experience and they were missing it. And they really frantically started searching for those sages. And when they were going through this experience, the great sage Narada, who was observing this entire incident, he saw this and he said, okay, these two daughters of Kamadhenu, they are very sincere souls and they want to hear about Lord. And when there are souls with eagerness, with sincerity to hear about Krishna, to surrender to Krishna and to glorify Krishna, immediately the spiritual master will be manifest. The spiritual master will be sent to you by Krishna himself. So Narada Muni appears before them, and Narada Muni tells them that they need not worry. From today onwards, Narada Muni says, I myself, Narada Muni, will describe you the glories and the pastimes of Lord Krishna every day to you. So you don't have to feel bad. You don't have to miss anything. In this way, the Kamadenu's daughter, Nandini and Patti, they were elated. We are going to hear from Narada Muni. How fortunate we are. And every day Narada Muni started describing and glorifying. It is said in the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that when you hear about Krishna, that itself is Anandambudi Vardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadanam. But especially when you hear about Krishna from a devotee who has fallen in love with Krishna. Hearing about Krishna is one level, but hearing about Krishna from a devotee who is intoxicated with Krishna's love, who has fallen in deep love with Krishna, and that is Narada Muni, like Srila Prabhupada, like Alvars, they have fallen in deep and great love with Krishna. When you hear from them, the impact, the effect are extremely different. So the Kamadenu's daughter Nandini and Patti, they started experiencing a different kind and different level of intense love for Krishna. And Narada Muni would go on describe. Every day he would describing Srimad Bhagavatam to Nandini and Patti. And when Narada Muni reached 10th canto, Dashamaskandha of Srimad Bhagavatam, where all the great pastimes, the most interesting qualities and leelas, pastimes of Lord Krishna's are mentioned. And when he went on describing, and finally Narada Muni came to the point of came to the chapter where Krishna performed Kaliya Narthana dance. Right? We know how Srila Prabhupada describes in Krishna book that there was a great serpent Kaliya who was living in the Yamuna waters and had polluted the entire Yamuna river, and practically the Vrindavan devotees were unable to go there. Even if somebody goes there, they will immediately fall unconscious and they will die due to that poisonous vapor. Even bird was unable to fly over it. So when Narada Muni started describing, he started describing how Krishna, in order to protect his devotees, in order to relieve his devotees of Vrindavan from this demon or this arrogant person called snake, Kaliya, Krishna jumped into the Kaliya river. And when he jumped into the Kaliya river, it was like a challenge to the Kaliya. And Kaliya, with great anger, he rose up and he caught Krishna, and he tried to, kill Krishna with his tight coils and all that. And Narada Muni was describing with great rapt attention. Nandini and Patti were hearing it. And when they heard how Kaliya caught Krishna, how Krishna got stuck in the coils of Kaliya, and Krishna had to kick Kaliya, and his legs were, going through all that. Actually, Nandini and Patti, they plunged into the great sorrow when they heard their beloved Lord, their sweet Lord, their Krishna, who was just 5-year-old, young, tender boy, was caught by a great serpent with 101 hoods. And Krishna was caught. When they heard this news, they were shocked. They plunged into the great sorrow and they started crying. And Narada Muni went on to describe how actually the Vrindavan devotees, they were feeling when the Vrindavan devotees saw this Krishna in that condition, how they were feeling. And when Nandini and Patti heard the situation of Vrindavan devotees, especially when they felt such a small boy, Krishna was felt this. And these are some of the verses in Srimad Bhagavatam. It is mentioned mentioned, tam naga bhoga parivritam adrishta cheshtam alokya tat priya sakha pashubha brishatam krishne arpitatma suhrida artha kalatma kama dushkanukosha bhayamuda dishnu niputa. It is said that when the members of Vrindavan community who had accepted Krishna as their life and soul, Krishne Arpita, Krishne Arpita Atma, they had offered their life, Krishna Arpita. The Arpita means they had offered. What they had offered? Atma. They had offered themselves. They had offered their life. They had offered everything. Suhrida. They had offered Artha. They had offered Kala. They had offered Kama, their family members, the purpose of their life, their life was around Krishna, and that Krishna was in danger, and that Krishna was caught by Kaliya, and that Krishna, the small boy, he is so young, and they are so worried to send that boy to forest because his small tender feet will get hurt walking on the forest, and that tender Krishna is now caught by Kaliya. And when the Nandini and Patti heard this news, they just started crying incessantly. They were weeping, they were crying, they were sobbing, they were unable to control themselves. And when Narada Muni saw this, and they were also able to hear from Narada Muni, Gopyo Anurakta Manaso Bhagavat Anante Tat Suhrida Smita Viloka Giras Marantyaha. When the gopis, when the residents of Vrindavana, when they saw Krishna like this, they immediately remembered how Krishna was smiling, that is Smita, how Krishna was glancing upon them, Vilokya, how Krishna was speaking so sweetly, Giraha, Smarantyaha, all those things came to their mind, and they saw Krishna was there, caught by Kaliya, Graste Hina, they were just distressed seeing this. Priyatame, their beloved Lord, Priyatame, Graste Hina. In this way, they got caught. Shunyam Trilokam. They felt without that Krishna, without our Lord, without our Priyatama, in this situation, the whole three world was appearing like empty, useless. Why are we alive? Why are we even breathing without Krishna? Hey Krishna, our beloved Lord, you're caught. Like this kind of feeling when Narada Muni described to Nandini and Patti during the Kaliya Narthana dance, they were just crying, and crying. They were just went on crying. And Narada Muni was shocked, and he was unable to stop them. Narada Muni started consoling, pacifying, but they were not getting consoled. They were just went on crying and crying, hours and hours, days and days they were crying there. They just continuously thinking how Krishna was undergoing that experience, how small boy, how Krishna so tender, his feet, his lotus feet, what would have happened? His lotus feet, how they tolerated Kaliya's poison, and his hands, which was holding Kaliya's tail, how such Sukomala hands, they were tolerating all this thing by remembering, they were crying. And finally, when the news reached to Kamadhenu, the mother of Nandini and Patti, Kamadhenu came running from Goloka Vrindavana. She tried pacifying her daughter. Don't cry. Nothing has happened, but Nandini and Patti was just crying incessantly. They didn't know what to do. And finally, Narada and Kamadhenu both went to Lord Krishna in Goloka Vrindavana, and they narrated the entire incident. Hey Krishna, look, your devotees, Nandini and Patti, they were so affected. They are in great shock. They're in great distress. They're unable to console themselves. They're unable to manage their feelings. They're just crying, Krishna, in this way they will die. You have to come and personally pacify them. And when Krishna heard this, he was touched. He was moved. And he was so, excited that devotees are feeling like this, thinking of him. That is how the great meditation, the devotees, just by thinking of Krishna, they get absorbed in this. And Krishna personally comes to this place called Utukkadu, where Nandini and Patti, they were crying, and they were crying. All their crying had become a water pond there. Such love and devotion they were expressing, and Krishna personally came and pacified them, but they were not getting pacified. No, Krishna, how you underwent this pain, how you could tolerate this, like that. They were feeling bad, and they were going through this pain of that. Krishna had to go through this. Such a small boy, how anybody can put him into such a fearsome battle with such a big demon Kaliya like this? Then in order to pacify them, in order to make them happy, Krishna told, don't worry, for me, the dance that I performed with Kaliya was just like a play, when I play with my friends so easily, without any difficulty, without any exhaustion. I was not tired. Nothing happened to me. In order to console, convince, and pacify them, Krishna reenacted the entire pastime, and he personally started dancing. He started dancing to the same way that he danced 5,000 years ago to the Vrindavan devotees in Yamuna river in Kaliya. So Kaliya came, Krishna performed, and all the Vrindavan devotees manifested, and Krishna started dancing. And Nandini and Patti, they were watching and watching with great horror, with great shock, with great surprise. And slowly, Krishna started showing how he was enjoying, how he was happy, how it was so easy for him. And finally, he, in a very easy way, he subdued Kaliya. So now, after hearing all these things, let us see in a video format how devotees have reenacted it for all of us to, enjoy, like Nandini and Patti, to absorb our consciousness. I have a small video to present, and let us all watch this 2-3 minutes video, how Nandini and Patti saw this entire pastime, and they pacified their heart. Now, I request all of you to please wait when the video is getting played to see the pastime of Lord Krishna for this Kaliya Narthana song.
Takanam tatakarum tatachum tatakajum tatakanam tatakarum tatakujanam tarita janam tarita himita kita janu takujanam tarita takujanam tarita tajanam tarita himita kita janu bhuta nartana chitrita mudrita vidyuta mudbhavam adbhutam janam tarita takujanam tarita tajanam tarita himita kita janu takujanam tarita takujanam tarita दिधिषुत काल विधिनुत शील अतिशय नील धृत पद लोल दिधिषुत काल विधिनुत शील अतिशय नील धृत पद लोलता कुजनं तरिता जनन तरिता धिमित किट जनु दिधिषुत काल विधिनुत शील अतिशय नील धृत पद लोलता कुजनं तरिता जनन तरिता धिमित किट जनु तदिमित किट धिमिता किट धिमिता कथा तत्कोम तत्तै कडतकतरिगडदुम जनम तरिता दिमित किट जनु दिमितितय्य तरिगडतकता तजम कडतकता दिमितितय्य अतिशय सुख निरुपमकरपादजम कडतकता दिमितितय्य सरस मोह मुरलीरवनाथ सकल लोक सम्मोहन गीत तरितजम तकतरितजम तक्किट कदुंग तम तदिम तदुम तति तकर कमल धृत अभयवर प्रदत कुदिनं तकदिन्नं किट तकता दृकतकतकदिन्नं तांगता कदम्बकिसलय मिलित नूपुर पदं चलित कृतपादत्तां तिल्लान दृगदिल्लान किटतुं किटतकतकन्नं nannam gittatum nam gittatatarikitatatikitatatikitatatikitat takatalang takatam katakatam katakatarikitam katakatarikitam tam tadim tadum tadi yajoragabandha tadbujanga shirasi charanam chalanam krutanam dhrutanam vadanam jita chandramadam kankana kinkininam nananam padatakatakadim janu janutam tadakatillana kanakabhushana takita tagattadaya mukabharamandasmita navavara pujita padayugala हरि जय विजयी भवनंद कुमार प्रचजन परमानंद किशोर कालीय नटनानंद गंभीर करुणार सहित भाव शरीर
मद मधुकर मधुप तरल समनयन कमल दल चलन मुनि हृदय मपिचोर चातुरादय कर मुराद कर मद मधुकर मधुप तरल समनयन कमल दल चलन मुनि हृदय मपिचोर चातुरादय कर मुराद कर मद मधुकर मधुप तरल समनयन कमल दल चलन मुनि हृदय मपिचोर चातुरादय कर मुराद कर
So in this way, when Nandini and Patti, when they saw the entire pastime reenacted by Krishna himself, for them, they completely got pacified. They saw how Krishna was actually enjoying, how Krishna was actually playing with Kaliya. They were so happy and they were pacified and they stopped crying. So this was the pastime. And when Narada saw this, who was also there, Kamadhenu was there, Nandini was there, Patti was there, all the demigods were there. They were all thrilled to see how sweet Lord Krishna, for sake of his devotees, he can come, he can again dance. That's why the today's episode is called And Then He Danced. When he danced, when his devotees were upset and crying, he came and then he danced to pacify them. That is the sweetness of Krishna. That is the compassionate heart of Lord Krishna. So when Narada Muni saw this, he immediately fell at the feet of Lord Krishna. He offered his prayers. He said, "Hey Krishna, I'm so, so bewildered. I'm so awestruck to see your beautiful dance today. And I request you, please stay in this place to remind the whole world that how you came and enacted this pastime for sake of Nandini and Patti." And that way, actually, Krishna appeared in the form of a Kaliya Narthana Krishna, in the form of a deity. And along with Kaliya Narthana Krishna, one can also see there is Nandini and there is Patti, for whose sake Krishna performed this entire pastime. And this temple is there in a southern India, a state, Tamil Nadu, a place called Uthukkadu. Uthukkadu is a place where this ancient temple, where the deity of Kaliya Narthana Krishna was personally installed by Narad Muni, and where Krishna enacted this. And that is why that place is called Dakshina Gokula, where Krishna performed the Gokula pastime. That is why it's called Dakshina Gokula, for the sake of his beloved two small calves of Kamadhenu, Nandini and Patti. And in this way, Krishna blessed. The Sthada Purana says, Krishna assured Narada Muni in the future when he appears as one of the great saints, he will be able to describe the entire pastime in the form of a Kaliya Narthana Tillana, which you all just now saw in the video format. The song was composed as per the Krishna's Kaliya Narthana dance by a great saint who was believed to be the incarnation of Narada Muni by the blessings of Krishna as per the local history. And also that the saint Uthukkadu Venkata Subbaya, he writes in a song how Nandini and Patti, the daughters of Kamadhenu, how they visualized, how did they see it, how Narada saw this. And he writes so beautifully. He says that Lord Krishna, on Kaliya serpent, he is the king of Vraja, Vrajesha. He is the Vraja Isha. He is the king of Vraja. And the flute, because when he was dancing dancing on the Kaliya, he was also holding a flute. And that flute is the royal emblem, because he's a king, he's a Vrajesha, he's a Vrajendra, and he has a emblem, king emblem called flute, and that is Rajadanda. And Kadamba tree from where he jumped into Yamuna river, that is the royal umbrella. When a king goes out, there is a white royal umbrella, and that is Kadamba tree. And the stone by which he got onto and climbed onto the tree, that is the Simhasana. And who are the citizens? The citizens are love-struck gopis of Vrindavana. They are citizens. And what is the law by which Vrajesha, Vrajendra, Kaliya, Narthana, Krishna, how is he ruling Vrindavana? He is ruling the laws governing Vrindavana is something called love, bhakti. It is a bhakti that is a law. It is a love that is a law in Vrindavana. And at last, he says, the cows, like Nandini and Patti and Kamadhenu, Ravali, Dhavali, and all of them, when they're walking to Govardhana and they're coming back to Vrindavana, Vraja, when they're walking, there will be a bell tied onto their neck, and they make sound when they're walking. And that sound of the cows produce, if somebody hears that sound will re-establish dharma in their heart. This is Vrindavana. This is what Nandini and Patti saw when Krishna came and danced and reenacted entire Kaliya Narthana pastime. So this was the today's My Sweet Lord episode, where Krishna, for sake of devotees, he can even dance. He can eat sweet rice. He can walk 100 days for sake of his devotees. He can speak Govinda Bhashya, and today we are hearing he can even dance. Who else will do, unless until he's so sweet to us, he has loving relationship with us, unless he cares for us, unless he's so important to us, who else will do? It is only Krishna. It is only Krishna who can do. That Krishna is going to appear on Janmashtami very soon, and we are all eagerly waiting for him. And the way we are waiting for him is to hear day by day, his sweet pastimes. And I request all of you to please don't miss any of these activities. Please attend all the activities, and in this way we will enhance our consciousness and welcome Krishna with right consciousness, that is bhakti, that is love. So hope to see you again tomorrow with one more new pastime that will enchant all of our minds towards Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna.